Welcome to my PowerPoint about Pokermon, a mod for Balatro. Pokermon adds a lot of different jokers to Balatro. It replaces all of the base jokers with a bunch of different Pokemon ones. There are a lot of them, and although there aren't every single one, over 1,000 like there are base Pokemon, there's a lot of them from Gens 1 through 4, and then there's a handful from all the other generations. A couple of the ones that we can talk about are, the basic starters of Gen 1 and Eevee. So Squirtle, Charmander, Bulbasaur, Eevee. Squirtle gives +1 hand and gains +1 chip per remaining hand at the end of round. When it hits 16 chips, it evolves into Wartortle. Bulbasaur gives +1 hand size and $1 per held, rank card at the end of round. When it hits $16, it evolves into Ivysaur. And then Charmander gives +1 discard and +1 molt per hand played when at 0 discards. When it hits 16 molt, it evolves to Charmeleon. The whole gimmick behind these is, of course, they're hitting level 16. Every single Pokemon has a specified way it can evolve. The starters hit level 16. Some Pokemon you just need to hold them for a couple rounds. Some of them need evolution stones, like Eevee. Others have very specific conditions, like, say, Snow-Run. Snow-Run's one of my favorite. It basically acts as credit card and it'll let you go into $15 in debt. Then, if you spend a couple rounds in debt, it'll evolve into Glalie. Eevee, of course, gives $2 for your first 5 rerolls and can be evolved into every evolution with an evolution stone. This is just fun. There's a billion different evolutions. They're all in the game, and while you might think, hey, you can't evolve into like Sylveon or Umbreon or Espeon normally with evolution stones, you can in this, right? Umbreon uses a Dusk Stone, and Sylveon uses a Shiny Stone. There's energies. Energies are a new system added by Pokermon that are basically a way to increase the power of your Pokemon. Each Pokemon has a max base of 3 energies it can be given that can be increased by either a certain Pokemon like Porygon or through vouchers that we'll get to soon. They are based on, the Pokemon TCG, right? So you have colorless, which lets go to everything. You have, some types that cover multiple things, like the fist, the fighting, covers rock and fighting, or the psychic one covers poison and psychic. And there's even cryptid support with Emergy, that creates 1 random negative joker for each Jolly Joker or M Joker. The energy system is what I think makes Pokermon stand out compared to other, overhaul mods to Balatro, because, not only is it adding new jokers, but you're adding a completely new system to the game that feels pretty good. Energies, of course, increase chips, money, and molt on cards. If it has any of those 3 numbers, giving an energy will do something. If they don't have any of those numbers, you can't even give it an energy, so you can't waste it. Now, you can get energies through packs. Some Pokemon generate them. There's a new seal that we'll get to that generates them as well. It's just a really good system. I really think that if it didn't have the energy part of the mod, I think it would actually not be as well made as it is, but it's very well made. There's a bunch of new items, 24 new items to be exact. They sort of replace tarot cards for the most part, and there's a bunch of different things that you can do with them. Linking Cord lets you select 2 cards. It increases the rank of the left card and decreases the rank of the right. So it's like half a strength, but it also decreases. You can get what you want, because there is no real way to decrease a card in base Balatro, which is pretty interesting. It can also be used to evolve certain Pokemon like Machoke or Haunter, or ones that have trait evolutions. They kind of did away with trait evolutions in a lot of the later generations, so this is only really useful for some of the earlier generation Pokemon, but there's only really the first 4 generations added to the game out of 9, but there are a handful of newer ones. Waterstone enhances a card into a bonus card. If it already is one, it doubles the total chips of the card up to a max of 50. This is pretty okay in my opinion. It's not the best evolution stone item because like I said, they do sort of replace tarot cards. This replaces Empress, I believe. Empress is the one that gives bonus cards, or turns into a bonus card. But because it's also an evolution stone, you can evolve Eevee into Vaporeon or Staryu into Starmie. There's a lot of different things that these evolution stone item cards let you do, and it's fun. It is really fun to watch your Pokemon evolve in this game. Twisted Spoon creates a copy of the last item or energy used. It's just a fool for the specific, Pokermon items, which is, it makes sense. It makes sense that it exists. There's also Mega Alakazam. I'll get to Megas in a minute, but Alakazam has synergy with Twisted Spoons if you're holding them, and that's actually really interesting. There's a lot of thought put into consumable items in this because there's reusable consumable items. I didn't put any on here because I wanted to talk about these, like these ones specifically, but there's leftovers. Leftovers lets you add $2 of sell value to your leftmost joker, and that's pretty interesting. There are a lot of Pokemon jokers that actually deal with sell value, and that's something that isn't really in base Balatro. Yeah, you have gift cards and Swashbuckler and like Ceremonial Dagger, but those aren't even those are pretty not great overall. But in Pokermon, they've been, remade, rebalanced, and actually really interesting. Then last and very certainly not least, there is the basic Pokeball. It creates a random basic Pokemon Joker. Basic Pokemon are the first stage Pokemon, right? So your starter Pokemon like Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Eevee, Staryu, Machop, etc. Pokemon like that, right? Stage 1 Pokemon, because it is based on TCG, are, the first evolutions you can get, right? So you can get that actually from a Great Ball. There's 7 new Spectral cards added by the Pokermon mod. One of the most interesting one, of course, is the Master Ball, which creates random legendary Pokemon. You can get like Mewtwo or Mew, and like Mewtwo can also Mega Evolve into Mewtwo Y and Mewtwo X. There's so much stuff to do in this mod, and it's just so awesome. The Ultra Ball is also a Spectral card, which creates a fully evolved Pokemon as well, but I didn't want to put it on here because I'm already talking about Master Ball. Nightmare destroys a Joker with a type and creates 2 negative energy of its type. This can be pretty useful if you're trying to get specific energies. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't use it very often. To be fair though, if I'm going for Spectral packs, I'm kind of always going for Master Ball and Mega Stone, so take that with a grain of salt. I could be, wrong. It's a mod. You can kind of play it however you want. There's no real right or wrong way to play it, so it is really funny. The Mega Stone, of course, is the most fun item in the entire game, in my opinion. It allows you to Mega Evolve your Pokemon. So, Mega Evolving a Pokemon in this is actually really interesting. What it does is it not only makes the Pokemon stronger, of course, but it kind of changes the effect of it. Mega Venusaur, right? Regular Venusaur has an effect where you're still getting money similar to Bulbasaur, but Mega Venusaur just says, screw it, and gives you +4 hand size. Gyarados is a Pokemon, of course, and it gives times 2.5x Molt, right? But when you Mega Evolve it, it becomes times 3.5x Molt, and then it also acts as Chico and it disables boss blinds. Mega Evolution is incredibly powerful. Like, if you are able to get a Mega Pokemon, it's actually, I'd say it's on par with a Legendary Joker. Like, they're so powerful, and it's really, really fun to play around. Do note, though, that this is hard-coded in, that you can't, so you can only Mega Evolve one Pokemon, obviously, but if you do Mega Evolve a Pokemon, you can un-Mega Evolve it. By un-Mega Evolving it, you still have to wait a full round to use your Mega Stone. So you have to be very careful when using it, because sometimes you can actually screw yourself because you want to change your Mega Evolution, but you can't do it for a full round in between. Then last, but kind of certainly not least, there's Transformation. Transformation evolves your leftmost Pokemon to its highest stage and gives it +1 energy. This can be incredible if you get early game. You can fully evolve a Pokemon on like Ante 1 or 2, which you should not be able to do normally, right? For a lot of third stage Pokemon, you shouldn't be able to evolve them that early, so you can get a super massive head start to the power that you get throughout the game. The Spectral cards that they added are honestly pretty cool. I don't really think any of them are like weak for the most part. I think they're all quite strong. Then we get to the vouchers that are added. So I talked about this before. You can actually increase the max energy your Pokemon can have. Energy Search increases the limit by 2, and Energy Research increases the limit by 4. Then you have Good Rod and Super Rod. Good Rod gives you your booster pack +1 option, which is just pretty good. There's no real downside to taking this, and seeing more options in your booster pack always lets you get more stuff. Then Super Rod lets you save a consumable from all packs. Now, typically you can't save the consumables you're getting from a lot of packs. Some of them you can, right? Especially reusable ones like, say, Leftovers or Megastone, but energy, like say an energy, you couldn't really save an energy normally. But with Super Rod, you can actually put it in your consumable slot, and that's kind of interesting. It lets you do a lot of things you can't normally. I don't think it's the best voucher, right? I think that, like, you're definitely going for Good Rod just to get Good Rod, and you're like, okay, if I find Super Rod, maybe I'll take it if I have the money, but it is really fun. Then there are 2 new seals and 1 new addition. There's the Silver Seal, which creates an item card and is discarded if it held in the hand when cards are scored. There's Pink Seal, which creates an energy of one of your jokers if played in the first hand of the round. And then there's the Shiny Edition, which adds 1 booster pack to the shop. So that's actually pretty interesting, I'm not gonna lie. It does change the art of the cards to be their shiny art, which is awesome. But getting more booster packs is just not something you can do in base Balatro. And that's fun. Shocking, I know. I do believe that shiny actually is 1 in 800 or 8,192, similar to base shiny odds in regular Pokemon, which is really funny. That's a really funny Easter egg. Then last but very certainly not least, there are 4 new decks added in Pokermon. You have the trainer deck, which starts you with a good rod and the Pokeball item, so you can get, well, as many new. It's a good way to see a lot of new Pokemon, and getting a voucher for free is pretty strong. There's the Luminous deck, which gives all Jokers a random type and +1 energy, and then there's the Obituary deck, which gives all Poke cards a Pink Seal. Last but very certainly not least is Telekinetic deck, which gives you a Crystal Ball voucher and 2 Twisted Spoons. This is the magic deck of Pokermon. I want to show off some of the Jokers that you can actually get in this. These are, of course, I'm only going to show like fully evolved ones because it's more interesting that way. Some of them are actually very interesting, like Metagross. Metagross gives plus 256 chips, and if played hand is a 4 of a kind, each card gives X molt equal to the cube root of the scoring chips of that card. Now, I'm bad at math, so I can't really explain how strong that is, but it is very strong. This is one of the strongest Jokers in the entire game, well, which makes sense, right? It's Metagross. It's a pseudo-legendary. You kind of expect it to be super powerful, and it's really, really fun to play with. I've said this before that I think 4 of a kind is kind of really not that great in base Balatro, but Metagross makes it so playing a 4 of a kind is really, really powerful. Steelix makes the leftmost scoring card become a steel card and turns all stone cards in hand into steel cards. This is just a really good way to generate a lot of steel cards, which can be used by a couple of the Jokers. We'll talk about one of those in a minute, and it's just cool. They all have like specific ways to evolve as well. Like for Steelix, there is a way to terrastalize in this game, right? There's terastallization stone. So what you do is you change Onyx into a steel type, and then after the next round, it will evolve into Steelix. Glalie lets you go up to $20 in debt and then sets your money to 0 at the end of round. This is an unbelievably powerful early game Joker. You can get this by like the beginning of Ante 2 if you get Snow Run like on the first round, and it's incredibly powerful. This is so much money that you get to work with, and yeah, I get it, right? You can't hoard money, but who cares? You can do so much with this. This is one of the most powerful like economy Jokers in the entire mod, and it might even be a little overpowered in my opinion. Umbreon is not a Joker I've used much because, well, it's definitely difficult to use, but it can be incredibly fun. Umbreon decreases the level of the displayed hand. Every 3 decreases, it creates an orbital tag or a negative tag. I've had times where I've had Umbreon like once or twice only, but I've had runs where I'll have like 3 or 4 negative Pokemon Jokers just added on top because of Umbreon, and that's really, really cool. The amount of different things that the Pokermon Jokers let you do compared to base Balatro is really refreshing. It really does feel like a total overhaul kind of mod, but it's Pokemon. It's just goofy. Some other Jokers that I want to talk about because they're just pretty interesting are Magnezone, which makes played steel cards give 1.5x molt and then an additional 0.25x molt for each steel type Joker you have. This, of course, works amazingly with Steelix, and Steel Jokers overall are pretty decent from what I remember. I could be wrong. Of course, I mean, it's mod. It's not like I'm going in trying to do as much OP stuff as possible. We're just having fun. Politoed gives the displayed suit +7 molt when scored, then re-triggers them for each water type Joker you have. This is incredibly powerful. This is like, you can actually just re-trigger 5 times from one Joker. That's absurd. So like, definitely look out for Politoed. The way you it requires a King's Rock on a Poliwhirl to evolve, so do note it can be a little difficult, but it's very interesting. Floatzel gives +40 chips for each unscored card in played hand. This is amazing in like high card builds, right? Where you're only, instead of scoring 1 card, you're actually still technically scoring all 5 cards. Yeah, it's only the chips, right? But hey, just get a little bit of molt, and this goes absolutely bonkers with like a lot of different jokers. It does technically count as, you know, a water type for Politoed if you're trying to go for something funny there, but it might not, like, just because it's not the strongest joker doesn't mean that it's still not interesting. And I mean, it's not like it's that hard to get. You just have to wait a couple turns for Weasel to evolve, and you just get a pretty good like early to mid game joker. And then Furret. So Sentret gives one molt, like, or gains one molt for every like consecutive played poker hand or whatever. But Furret just gains +1 molt whenever you play or played hand isn't the last played hand. That's funny. That's just really, really funny. It's not the strongest. It's one you pick up in the early game, right? And that's what you expect from a card like Furret. But the fact that it is just one that you pick up just because, hey, it'll help me win, that like speaks volumes to the balance of this Pokermon mod. And I don't know, I just really like it. I like that the mod feels actually quite balanced. It doesn't feel like it breaks the game. Yeah, and maybe your first couple antis feel a little stronger, right? Because they are generally stronger than a lot of the common jokers for sure. So you're kind of always going to be stronger in the first couple antis, but they're not stronger than a lot of like the rare or legendary jokers in base Balatro. So your later antis, you actually do feel like, hey, I have to build my jokers correctly. And I don't know. I keep harping on how much I love this mod, but I really do think it's one of the best mods out there for Balatro right now, and it's getting updates. They're adding more and more Pokemon all the time. It's just so fun. But yeah, that's going to be it from me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me down below, how much have you guys played Pokermon? I know a lot of people in my Discord have played this mod, and a lot of them have a lot of good things to say about it. It's really fun. It's really interactive. Guys, go to the wiki. It's you just look up Pokermon Balatro wiki. You can look through all the jokers. Tell me what your favorite one is. I think mine's still got to be Glalie. I think it's so overpowered, and the amount of stuff it lets you do, it really lets you just like play with whatever you want for the first couple rounds, and it's just awesome. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. My socials are there on screen or they're down in the description. Join my Discord to talk about Balatro because it's just everyone loves that game, man. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.